Okay, so in the last class, we saw applications of syntax directed translation, right? So here I told you the main application of SDT is to construct a syntax tree. So what is a syntax tree? Syntax tree we use only to specify the syntax. That is, the tree is actually different from the parse tree. So syntax tree is created from the input string itself, whereas parse tree is actually created from the grammar that we have. So using this production or the grammars, using the productions or the grammars, we create a parse tree, right? And using the semantic rules, we create the annotated parse tree, right? Then what is the syntax tree? Syntax tree is actually created from the input string. Okay, syntax tree is created from the input string. So if you have an input string like this, we create a syntax tree for this. So the first string that we will be creating, tree that will be created will be a syntax tree. So as you can see, minus comes first here and then plus. So plus will go to the root node, and then we will have a C in the right hand side. After the plus we have a C, so we have C in the right hand side. Then here a minus 4 is actually grouped together, so we will have a minus and then a and then 4. Okay, this is how a syntax tree looks like. Clear? So parse tree, I have already explained this. So here, in order to construct a syntax tree, we have actually two nodes. One is a leaf node and the another one is the interior node that I have already told you. So the STD or syntax directed definitions that we will be using in the construction of a syntax tree are S attributed definition and L attributed definition. This is what I told you in the last class. So the example that I explained in the last class was for S attributed definition. So that is a syntax directed definition. So what is syntax directed definition? The semantic rules that we write here, it is actually the syntax directed definition, right? And this is the top one, whatever we have is actually the parse tree. We can also create a dependency graph or an annotated parse tree, right? So here, for the generating a syntax tree, we write a different semantic rule, right? That is, it's similar to the annotated parse tree or SDD semantic rule, but only thing is here what we do, we use the two nodes called as the interior node and the leaf nodes, as you can see here, right? And in order to create this syntax tree, what we will have to do, we will have to first create a parse tree like this. So as you already know, the parse tree is created from the production rules. That is, E denotes E plus T. Then again, E denotes here the same thing whatever we have here, right? The parse tree which we created was E denotes E plus T, right? Then here we have got a minus symbol for this input string. So it is E minus and then we want the ID, right? E minus T. So T denotes what? T denotes number. We want a 4, right? And then here E denotes T and T denotes ID because we want a symbol here, right? A symbol 4 and C, right? So T denotes then again ID, right? So this is 4 minus, A minus 4 plus C, right? This is the parse tree that we have, right? For that parse tree, we will be converting it into a node form here, E dot node, T dot node, and so on. Okay, we'll be writing because in the semantic rule we have like that. So we'll be converting this E as semantic rules like this, E dot node, and so on. Then from this parse tree, we will be generating a syntax tree, right? So here you can see the syntax tree looks very simple here, but we'll have to write it in the form of leaf nodes and the interior nodes. And if you observe here, the nodes are created only for these two and these two, right? These two, there are no nodes created because E's value is similar to T's value, T's value is similar to E's value. Parenthesis is just used for grouping purpose. That's why we don't create any nodes for that. So as you can see, nodes are created only for the interior nodes as well as the leaf nodes, right? So this is the format which I explained in the last class. So what is the sequence that is followed? First, what we do from this parse tree, we create first the start with the A entry here, right? This A entry we start, because we want the value of this to go up, because this is F directed definition. Because of that, the values that are entered will be from the child to the parent. That is, we use a bottom up parsing method, right? First we will have to find the value of a child, and then we will have to find the value of a parent, right? So you can see the sequence of steps here. The first step, what we do, we actually find the leaf node for the ID entry that is in the left hand side, this entry, right? We actually find the value for the leaf nodes, right? So first the leaf node value will be found, that is ID and entry for A will be done. That is the first step that we are following here, right? So we have given a name called as P1 here for this. Next, what we want to send this value up, right? That means from ID, we want to send it to E dot node. As you can see here, the E dot node value and P dot node value both are pointing to ID. That means both of these are pointing to this particular node, this particular leaf node. Clear? You can see a dotted arrow here. Both of these are pointing to this particular leaf node. Now we have found the value for this. Now what we want next? We want the value for this, right? We want the value for this. If you don't find the value for this, we cannot proceed forward. Because of that, we do the second step. We create a new leaf node called as num, right? So this is P2. In the second step, we create a new leaf node called as num of 4. And where is this num of 4 pointing to? It is pointing to the T node, right? It is pointing to the T node here, right? Now after this, what we will be doing, because this is num, right? So this num is over, this ID creation is over, and we will be pointing to the left hand side node of this num. You can see here the num's left hand side node we will be pointing to. Then minus is already there. Next we want this particular thing. This is an interior node. E dot node is equal to minus of this and this, right? So we will be considering this one. That means we are creating a new node called as P3 with the opcode value as minus and left hand side node as P1 and right hand side node as P2, right? So this is P3 now. After this part is over, then we'll have to go to the right hand side part, right? We have to create this ID, which is nothing but our P4. You can see P4 is a new leaf node. So that means that we have now created this. Now this is actually P4. Actually this is not P4. This is P4 because we are creating a node for ID. Okay, we can say this is also P4. Both are same. Okay, this and this both are same. Now after this, what we can do is we will have to create E dot node, which will become P5. Okay, this is P5. Now what we got? We got a new node for P5 plus P3 and P4. Right? This is P4. You can say this is P4. Okay. No need of getting confused. So this is P3, this is P4, this is P5 and so on. Clear? Both are same here. Now here, this is P1 and this is P2. Okay. So now we have created a syntax tree like this. This is a syntax tree. As you can see, solid lines are used in between the nodes of a syntax tree. These type of nodes, that is a dashed lines, the dotted lines, dashed lines are used for connecting from the parse tree to the syntax tree, and dotted lines are used between the nodes of a parse tree. Clear? This is a S-directed definition. Very easy it is. Now, there is one example here. We need to create a syntax tree for the expression x into y minus 5 plus z. I want all of you to do this along with me. Okay. So how will you do this? Just think and tell me, how will you do this? So how do you create a syntax tree for this? We need to create a sample syntax tree or a abstract syntax tree. How do you create a abstract syntax tree for this? You can see here, this comes first because it is multiplication. Then after that, this has to be subtracted with 5. After that, the third step is we have to do this full operations. That means x into y should come first, right? So since it is bottom up, we can just start with this x into y like this, right? Then we'll have to subtract the value 5 from this, right? So we have 5. You need to use a minus symbol to subtract this with this, right? Then after this is over, you'll have to add it to z. So you will be adding this value to z, right? This is the abstract syntax tree for this particular input string. Now, how does the production rule look like? The production rule is almost similar to whatever we have used in the previous cases. Okay, it is actually similar to the previous cases. Here what we will be doing, but we will be using the production rules like E denotes, one extra thing will be there, E plus T, right? We can use the name as E1. Then we want one more minus symbol also, right? Because there is a minus here, E1 minus T. Then we want E denotes E1 into T. See, this E and this E are same, but just for differentiating this with this, we are using a symbol called as E1. That's all. Okay. Then we want E denotes T because T I want the value, right, which will be stored into this particular E's. So then we have T denotes ID. We have an identifier called as X and Y and Z. 3 identifiers are there. Only one number is there. So again, I need T denotes number also. Right? So these are the things. Now what we want? We want a parse tree. Right? That right hand side, what is that? Semantic rules and all you can create later. Okay, these are the production rules or the grammars. Semantic rules you can create. Okay, so it is similar to this. It is similar to this. Semantic rules are similar to this. Only thing is one into thing will be extra. And this we anyway, this we don't need. We have not used this at all in here. Right? This we have not used this in this particular example at all. Right? Only thing is one into symbol will be extra here. And it is similar to the semantic rules of this. Right? Now, how do you create a parse tree for this? Parse tree is created in the same way. It will be similar to this syntax tree. So we have, we want which one is first plus, right? We want a plus symbol first. So we have E denotes E plus T, right? E denotes E plus T. Then we will be writing it as dot node here. Right, E dot node, and T dot node, right? Then what is E dot node? We want a minus symbol here. So E denotes E dot node minus then T dot node, the second one. Okay. And in the semantic rule, after that, we want it into here, right? We want it into here. So this will be E dot node into T dot node, right? We got into, minus and plus, right? Into, minus and plus. Now we want X, Y, 5 and Z. So E denotes T dot node, right? Because we have two, what is E and T are same, right? E denotes T dot node. T dot node is pointing to X, right? So it is pointing to a identifier, right? Here also T dot node is pointing to a identifier. Here this is pointing to a number, right? 5 is a number. So this is pointing to a number. This is pointing to Z. That means it is pointing to a identifier. Right? Now our parse tree is ready. Now from this parse tree, I need to create a what? I need to create a syntax tree. Right? How do you create a syntax tree? For all the interior nodes, I need to create a node, right? Syntax node or syntax tree node. So how to start? So first step is P1. P1. So what we will have to do first? We will have to create this X. Then we will have to create this Y in order to go to star. Right? So we need X. Then this is P1. Then we need to create Y, that is P2. Then we need to create star, which is P3. Okay. Then we need to create this is P4. Then from these two we got P5, right? Then we get P6 here and then we get P7 here. So if you create a syntax tree like this and keep it, will be easy for you. Okay, otherwise by seeing the parse tree, it's very difficult to find out. So P1 will be what? It's a leaf node for the identifier, right? So we need to create a new leaf node for the identifier, right? And it is taken as a entry for X. Okay, it's taken as an entry for X. Then what is P2? P2 again it is taken as a new leaf node because it's a leaf node, right? Then we'll be taking the same thing and entry for Y. ID comma entry for Y, right? ID comma entry for Y. Then after P1 and P2 is over, we need to create P3. What is P3? P3 is a interior node. So whenever we have a interior node, we create a new node, right? New node with the symbol as star and it is pointing to P1 and P2, right? It is pointing to P1 and P2, right? These are the steps. Then there is a semicolon, okay, at the end. This is a semicolon. The semicolon is separating each and every line. Then what is the P4 step? P4 step, we have a number is created, that is a new leaf node is created. New leaf node with a number and the number is 5. Okay, semicolon. Then P5 is a what interior node? P6 is a what is that leaf node and P7 is a interior node. Okay, P5, P6, P7 you write. Clear? P5 will be actually a what? P5 is an interior node, so this is a new node. Then P6 is a leaf node, right? It is for the identifier Z, and this one is again a new node. This is a node, sorry. This is a node, interior node, right? So this node is for minus symbol, this node is for the plus symbol, this leaf node is for the identifier Z, right? And this P5 is actually pointing to, P5 is pointing to P3 and P4, right? This is for the entry, I'm actually writing entry Z, this is all new. Next, this plus is for pointing to P5 and P6. P5 and P6. Right? This is how we create a sequence of steps. Now, using this sequence of steps, you need to create the syntax tree. Now, how do you create a syntax tree for this? First is we'll have to create a P1. P1 is nothing but it is actually here down. I will write it down somewhere here. So the node will look like ID and then entry for X. We'll have to write like this here. 2 entry X. Okay, we usually write like this. Now after that P2 is created. P2 is another entry for Y. It's a leaf node which is identifier which is a entry for Y, right? P2. Now this P1 is connecting to what? P1 is connecting to star, right? That means E dot node. So here this is connected to, this is ID, right? This is the ID which we have created here just now. So it is pointing to here. It has to point to this, okay? This identifier, this left side, not the right side. It should point to this ID. Now this ID is here. So it has a pointer to T dot node. Right, after these two are created, then we have to create a new node called as star, right? So star, we will be creating a new node star with, this is P1 and this was P2, right? We have a connection from P1 to P2, right? So we are not writing here, it is actually blank. It is actually blank. Don't write anything here. Now this will be pointing to this entry. This will be pointing to this entry. It's a pointer. It's like a linked list. Okay, it's a solid line. Now after this, P4 is what? New leaf node. So new leaf node is for number, right? Yes, it is for number. So we have here leaf node is, this is num, and we have the value 5, right? And then we create a new node P5. P5 is what? We have here, what is this? This is for P5 is minus. So minus, we have two entry for this. So here you can see this entry, whatever we have, this entry is for this, and this entry is for this. Okay, I think we will write it here. So I don't know why it doesn't get erased. Okay, and this is actually pointing to what? This one is actually pointing to, this number was pointing to this one, right? Yeah, this number was pointing to, you can see here, this number was pointing to this, and this minus is pointing to this E dot node. Minus is pointing to E dot node. So from here, we have a symbol to, we have a pointer to this minus, right? And this star E dot node was pointing to this. This is a dashed line. Okay. Now this is over. After this, what we should do? Minus is done. Then we will have to create Z here, right? Z is created here. I'll write Z here. Z is nothing but it is an identifier, and we'll have to write to entry Z, right? To entry Z, and this identifier is pointing to this T dot node, right? And from the identifier and the minus, this actually should come in the same line, okay? Because there's no place I wrote it up. So these two will be pointing to plus symbol, right? These two I'll write somewhere here. We'll have to make some place and write. This will be giving connected to plus. This plus is actually pointing to this particular node, right? And there is a dotted line here, and this will be connected to this with a solid line. This will be connecting to this with a solid line. Clear? So this is our syntax tree. Any doubts? I hope people have taken down this. If you have not taken down, tell me so that I can give you some time to take down this. Okay? And as you can see here, this is P1, this is P2, this is P3, this is P4, then this is P5, then this is P6, and this is P7. Clear? I don't know why this line went from here. Okay. Clear? Any doubts? See, this syntax tree and all are very easy. So for the final exam, even though it is open-end questions, I suggest you study the fifth module because the fifth module is very easy. Don't leave the fifth module. Okay? Listen carefully in the class and try to study the fifth module because as I told you, the questions will be very easy from this module. Okay? Most of the time from the fifth module, you will get straight questions. Okay? There will not be many problems and all. So it's better you study this particular module for the final exam. About the previous modules and all, you decide which one you will study. But fifth module, as I told you, it's very easy. See, the problems are so easy. That is, you will get straight questions most of the time. Any doubts? Now coming to the next one, that is the L attributed definition. I told you in the application of the syntax directed translation, we have two types of definitions. One is the S attributed definition and the other one is the L attributed definitions. So here you can see for the L attributed definition, we have not created a syntax tree. Okay, you can create a syntax tree also for this, but it's a bit difficult to create a syntax tree for this. So you in the textbook they have given only the creation of the dependency graph. So I'll be doing the same thing whatever is there in the textbook. So here you can see this is a L attributed definition. L attributed definition for the input string a minus 4 plus c is the same as the previous one. Only thing is the grammar you can see, the grammar is a bit different here, right? The grammar is a bit different here. So you can see the grammar is E denotes T into E dash because it is L attributed, right? L attributed definition consists both of the what is that inherited attributes as well as the synthesized attribute. Clear? So in the question, in the exam, if they ask you using L attributed definition you do, then you will have to write a grammar like this. Whereas if they ask you S attributed definition, or if they don't ask anything, okay, if they don't specify whether it is L attributed or S attributed, you write S attributed itself. Clear? And here as you can see here, the protection rules are all of this. You will have to by heart it if it is not given. Okay, only few are there. Then the semantic rules, as you can see here, E dash E dot node is equal to T into E dash. E dash is actually inherited attribute. So inherited attribute will be T dot node and so on. So you can see here the parse tree will look like E denotes T into E dash for this particular input string. Now T is nothing but I want a here, right? A is a identifier, right? I have an identifier here. Then I want 4 plus C. Because of that, you can see here, yeah, minus is there. Minus is there. So I want a minus symbol and then T and then I have E dash, right? This one, the third row. The third row. Then I got minus T denotes again ID, right? T denotes, sorry, not ID, it is number, right? Yeah, T denotes number. T denotes number. I want 4, right? Now E denotes, what is that? E denotes plus T into E dash, right? Now here after plus I have what? I have ID, right? Plus T denotes ID. Now once I got ID, E dash is remaining, so we need a epsilon here. E dash denotes a epsilon, right? I hope this is correct, whatever I have written. So this is A minus 5. So this is what? I'll just change the color of this one. Now I have ID is A then I have a minus here, then I have a plus here 4, then sorry 4, then I have plus, then I have C. This is epsilon, right? I got this one in the parse tree. Now once this is over, what we'll have to do next? Next, we'll have to create a annotated parse tree or a dependency graph or a syntax tree. Anything we can see. But in the textbook, they have given the dependency graph for this. So we will see how to create a dependency graph for this. So as you can see, the parse tree is here. The same parse tree is generated here. E denotes T and ID, then E dash minus T into E dash, everything is given here. So what step first comes? So first I will have to create, if you create a syntax tree you already know, it will be like this, plus, then C, then we have minus, then you have A, and you have 4, right? A minus 4 plus C. So what we will have to do first? First we will have to do this P1, then we have P2, then P3, then P4, and then P5. Right? We'll have to go in this particular order. So what we have done here? Here, this is the first step that is created, right? This is the first step that is created, entry. Then the value goes to T, second step. Then we can also follow any order. We can do this first or this first. So in this example, they have used this first and then this, right? Number and T. Then after this, they have inherited the value of this into this. So we got here, this is the fifth step, and this inherited values and this one, 5 and 4, both of them together, it will go to 6, right? So this E dash inherits the value of this and this. You can see here, the right hand side, whatever you can see here, right? This we have already seen actually. Now, after 6, then we have this 7 and 8. This ID value goes to this. And these two values from here and here, both goes to this E dash. That is the 9th step here, right? After this, once we got all this value, all these values that are there here, it has to go to the top value as a synthesized attribute. Clear? So in the same way, you can see all the interior nodes which are there, you will have to create a new node for the interior nodes. And you can create a new leaf node for the terminals, that is the leaf nodes, and then you can create a syntax tree. Like as you can see, P1 first step is what? To create a leaf node for A. Okay, you can create here. Okay, you can create a new leaf node for A. You are creating an identifier from here. You are giving a connection from here to here. Then this, actually, after this, you create a new number node, this one, right? You create a new number node called as num and 4. Then these are connected to a minus symbol here. Okay, like this. E dot inherited and T dot inherited, and it goes to this one, right? And you can continue like this. You can create like this, and you can create like this, and so on. Just goes on continuing. Clear? So in the same way, like how we created for the syntax tree, in the same way you can create for this also. Clear? So anyway, I don't think so in the exam they will ask L attributed definition. Most of the time they are asking only S attributed definition. But if they ask, then you'll have to create a tree like this, and then you'll have to create a syntax tree like this. Okay, you can try this, how to create this. It's not given in the textbook. And in the textbooks, as I told you, most of the examples they have given is only for this S attributed definition. They have not created any, or they have not given any example for this L attributed definition. Okay. Now I hope this you can do, that is clear. Then the next one is the structure of a type. So what is this? Structure of a type, as you can see, this is a type. Type is actually, it comes under the data types. If you have int of x, int of x, this is one data type that we already saw in the previous class. We have int of array of 3, something like this, or array of 2, this is a matrix. This again is a int, right, or a data type. So whenever we have type, we have to create a protection rule for the type. Then the rule usually it differs a bit, mainly because whatever identifiers we get here, we'll have to store those identifiers inside the symbol table. Right, in the last class I told you, whenever you have a type thing, we will have to store the values in the symbol table. So whenever we store the values in the symbol table, most of the time there will be some discrepancies or some problems whenever you create a grammar. So we will see what is this. So inherited attributes, whatever we saw in the previous one, are useful when the structure of the parse tree differs from the abstract syntax of the input. So when do we use the inherited attributes? When the structure of the parse tree differs from the abstract syntax of the input. Okay, that means whatever input we have here, if this is the input and this is the structure of a parse tree. So whenever we have this input and whenever the structure of the input differs from this input, whatever we have, then we say that it is an inherited attribute, right? It is not a normal parse tree, just like how we saw here. This was a normal parse tree, whatever we saw here. But this is a abstract parse tree, right? Now, attributes can then be used to carry information from one part of the parse tree to the other. So, we actually carry the information from the siblings, as you can see, it is carried from the siblings or from the parent, right? In actually here I think here we are storing, right? Yeah, we are storing from E to E. Like this we are passing, like this we are passing, and so on, right? So we are actually transferring the information from one node to the another. Now the mismatch in structure can be mainly due to the design of the language, and it might not be due to the constraints imposed in the parsing method. So whenever we design a language, there might be a mismatch in the structure as well as in the input string that we have. As you can see, L attributed definition is a bit complicated compared to S attributed definition. But that sometimes we will be using that whenever we remove the left recursion and left factoring. Clear? Now, this is an example where we create a STD for any basic type or an array type. I told you basic type is nothing but int of x, comma, y. All these are the basic data type instruction or lines or code, we can say. If you want to use an array type, then we usually use like this, int 2 and 3. So how is this read? This is read as array of two arrays of 3 integers, right? Two arrays of 3 integers. That means you see, right, 2 into 3 like this we create, right? There are 2 rows, 0 and 1, and 3 columns, okay, 0, 1 and 2. So what we say, array of 2 arrays of 3 integers, right? This is how we call it, array of 2 arrays of 3 integers. There are 2 arrays. This is first array, this is the second array. Each array contains 1, 2 and 3, right? 1, 2 and 3 integers. This also contains 1, 2 and 3 integers. So we have 2 arrays. This is the first array, this is the second array, right? So array of 2 arrays of 3 integers each. Now, when we have a input like this, int of 2 and 3, how do you write a semantic rules, or how do you create a annotated parse tree for this? So for this, you can see we have used a protection rule like this. So what is that? T denotes B minus C. As you can see here, B is nothing but, this is actually a declaration. This is actually a declaration. T is nothing but our declaration. You can see here the method that values, symbols that we have used here is different. Okay. This is actually again contains the inherited attribute and the synthesized attribute, because it is in this form. So what is B? B is nothing but the, what is that, type. B is nothing but our type, and C is nothing but, here in our case it is a array. So here it is nothing but if you take this int of 2 comma 3, this b is nothing but in our case it is int, and c is nothing but our 2 and 3. Okay, c is nothing but our 2 and 3. Now you can see here, this is general grammar written. So b can be either an integer, this b can be either an integer or b can be a float. And what is the c? C can contain only one array or any number of dimensions, right? So here C can contain only one dimension, this is number, or it can contain any number of dimensions. The C1 actually, one is given just to differentiate the left hand side from the right hand side. Otherwise it is only C. Okay, what is C? C can be epsilon. If this is epsilon, then it will be a one dimension array. Otherwise it just goes on repeating, you know this, right? C can be any number of Cs. Now the semantic rule that is given here is actually like this. So here we have used the symbol T and B, right? The T we have used here is indicates it is a synthesized value, okay, and B here it indicates it is a inherited value, okay. Instead of T dot synth, in the previous cases and all we have used like this, T dot synthesized is equal to C dot synthesized. Then here we have used T C dot inherited attribute is equal to B dot synthesized. Okay, instead of using synthesized and inherited, we have used a short form here. That's all. Okay, remember. Remember, this B stands for inherited attribute, T stands for the synthesized attribute. Okay, so I'll wipe it. Okay. Now we have, if you want to find the value inherited attribute for C, you can see C is inherited attribute, right? This comes like this. Okay. C is actually the inherited attribute. C is nothing but it's the inherited attribute, right? C is nothing but it's the inherited attribute, as you can see here. Now, C value, it can be either this or it can be this, right? So C dot inherited values is nothing but it is taking the value from the B dot inherited, because it has to take from the left hand side. It has to take from the left hand side, right? Okay. So here we have to take from the left hand side, right? C is the inherited attribute, as you can see here. I'll write here this one again. B is nothing but it is the inherited attribute, and T stands for the synthesized attribute. Okay. Now here we have C has to take the value from B, right? So the C dot inherited values is equal to B dot synthesized values. Now what is this T? This T is nothing but it takes the values from the synthesized attribute of C. How do we get this? Actually, we usually write this one as array of 2, okay, because we have writing here array of 2 arrays, okay, array of 2 arrays of 3 integers, okay, array of 2 arrays of 3 integers. This is how the this one is written, okay. Now we have the parse tree for this one, the symbol whatever we have here, it is written like this. T denotes B and then C. What is B? B is nothing but ours integer for this one, right? And C is nothing but ours. First we have left bracket 2, then what do we have? Closing right bracket, then we have C, right? Then what is this C? C is nothing but we have a left bracket, right? Then we have 3, then we have a right closing bracket, right? And then we have again C, because it is continuation with C, right here. Continuation with C. What is C here? C is nothing but our epsilon, right? This is our parse tree. So what we have here? T dot T. What is this? This T. T is nothing but it will contain Now T will contain what? T will contain the synthesized value of this, because T should contain only the values from the down, right? The T the synthesized value will contain the value of this, C the synthesized value will contain the value of this, and so on. Okay, it just goes up like this. So because of this, you can see here, we have written here T dot synthesized value will be from C dot synthesized values, and here also you can see C dot synthesized value. What is the C dot synthesized values? It will contain the value from down, the synthesized value from down, which is nothing but it is a array value. Now you can see here, it is written as T dot T is equal to array of this one, to array of two integers of two arrays of three integers, array of two arrays of three integers. This is what is written here like this. Okay, this is nothing but array of two arrays of three integers. Okay, now here you can see B dot T is nothing but integer. That value goes here, which will be passed to this, right? It has to be passed to this one as a integer value, right? Once this way goes, this is a B is nothing but it is a inherited attribute, right? So this inherited attribute has to go down here. From here it has to go down, right? And then this value again it